You're listening to the Big Sci-Fi Podcast, the biggest sci-fi podcast in the galaxy, with Adina, Brian, Chris, and Steve. We're a part of the Trek Geeks Podcast Network, and we're having more fun than ever celebrating our 10th season and 4 years of friendship talking all things science fiction. Calling all sci-fi fans, you're invited to the party. Let's have some fun. When I was a wee little lad was I. And I loved listening to stories, not just watching them on television, but I loved something that one day they will find in the catechisms that will be the United States of America. Someone will dig down, perhaps in the home I grew in, and find a mysterious object, a plastic object with 2 holes in the middle and weird black tape running on each side of those wheels inside this plastic cassette tape. A listening device, an object for recording music and audio on. I grew up listening to cassette tapes of highly abridged Star Trek novels in the 80s and the 90s, and I loved every second of most of them. I particularly loved it when James Doohan was the narrator. He could do all the voices. He had the emotions. And in those days, Simon & Schuster actually added a few sound effects and some music that was kind of okay at the time. Way out of date now if you listen to it. One of my favorites growing up, I listened to it dozens, if not hundreds of times, was a story by the great Michael Jan Friedman, who's been on this podcast, called Shadows on the Sun. And the front cover of the book says, Dr. Leonard McCoy confronts his past and the wife he left behind. I'm going to read the inside of this jacket. And today, the Big Sci-Fi Podcast with Adina, Chris, Steve, and myself, Brian, we're going to discuss the abridged audio version that is available on YouTube right now. If you search it up, Shadows on the Sun, Star Trek, it'll come up as one of the top options. And here's what the inside jacket says. As a young doctor with a beautiful family and a promising medical career, Dr. McCoy thought he had it all. But when the woman he loved betrayed him, McCoy fled to Starfleet, hoping to lose his pain in the depths of space. Now, more than 40 years later, the USS Enterprise and her crew are ordered to transport a group of mediators to the planet Son, a world where assassination is a long-time honored tradition. Dr. McCoy is surprised to learn that his ex-wife now remarried as one of the mediators. But before McCoy can begin to face his feelings for his former love, she and Captain Kirk are trapped by the band of deadly assassins. Suddenly, McCoy is in the center of an explosive civil war, where he is the only one with the power to save the woman who once nearly destroyed him. McCoy must now overcome a centuries-long tradition of death and his own past with the woman he still loves, or else lose her for the second time. And as I mentioned before, this was written by Michael Jan Friedman. My friends on the Big Sci-Fi, this is one of my all-time favorite stories in Star Trek, whether it's film, television, or novels. To me, this is one of the top stories because I love Dr. McCoy. I love backstory about him. And it's written by the great Michael Jan Friedman and narrated very aptly by James Doohan on the abridged version of this story. So without further ado, guys, I just gabbed a lot.
You did.
Tell me how your weeks are going.
Week is fine. The week is fine. Little froggy voice, but I'm here.
How many packs are you smoking a day now, Steve?
Well, I started with menthol because it's easier on the throat. You know what I mean. And then I switched to hand-rolled cigarettes, and oh, those are good. All right, enough of that.
What's with the Jersey accent or whatever that
I
I don't
love
know. I
it. I
always
love
think
it
that
every
the guy
time.
like that's got to have a voice like this, you know.
I could see
every
that.
time every time you do a voice, Steve, Chris gets a little giddy.
I
He
do, and I have to mute
smiles and
myself. So I'm
he
gonna laugh. I
Uh,
just love the accent. It's one of the best accents, and anytime people do it, I get excited about it.
oh my gosh. Yeah.
I am dying to know why you made us listen to this book.
Well,
oh my
okay.
It's been
gosh,
killing
here we
me
go.
ever
Okay,
since I
okay.
finished it this morning. I finished it this morning on the way back from the gym. And all I could think during the whole 3 hours of
Yeah.
listening to this, because it is abridged,
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying. Why
What
is this
could
your favorite?
Well, and that is the question I was going to pose to you. Like, when did you first get into science fiction, and what was the first film you ever made? No,
Yeah.
Ryan. Yes. Why is this your favorite? Since you
I've
gave it,
always been fascinated with assassination for some reason. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just
I
kidding.
hope
Okay,
That's not
so.
true. That's not true.
If not, if not,
Wait,
you're
there's
getting
in
your
the
own
context
room.
of literature and movies and entertainment, there is nothing wrong with that. You could
Yeah.
absolutely. I mean, a lot of people love crime dramas and things, so there's nothing wrong with
Right.
that
Yeah.
if that is your thing.
Yeah.
But we know
Yeah.
that is not your thing. So why did you make us
So
listen to this?
there is
See,
there is a I find this story to be multifaceted in a couple ways in particular. I think the whole premise of the culture here on San having this infatuation with lighting up, making the sun brighter with death is kind of interesting. Like releasing the souls or the spirits of these people as actually being a thing of honor to be assassinated is interesting. It's morbid. It's a little weird too, but
Mhm.
it's kind of a reversal in some ways, honestly, of the way that I grew up, where um, very much like you respect life. Life is good. You want to live life as long as you can. You want to help others enjoy life. And so, this concept of taking it away, but a group of people feeling like it's an honor and it's something good is so mysterious and weird, and yet also terrifying in a sense too. And so you see this culture on San, and this is why I think this is such a good Star Trek story. You see this whole culture on San, they begin to push back against that. They begin to say, we don't think this is true anymore. And so they start to push back and try to change this culture, and the assassins push back. And that's how it, whatever the issue is in our time, that's what happens is one group says, and then the other side of this is just it's a really, in my opinion, rich Dr. McCoy backstory.
Okay.
That is true.
So
that is
that
true.
is
see, that's
all
where
fair.
I fall with it.
But the tangential question is, why have us listen to the abridged audiobook and not just read the gosh darn book? And
Well, it
so I
also-
think what you're getting at, what I'm getting
Yeah.
at is,
yeah.
I think I've listened to a handful of the abridged audiobooks that have been put out, especially in the early days.
Mhm.
They were all abridged. These days, the audiobooks that they make of the novels, they are the full length novel.
Right, the full
Yeah.
length.
I think
Yeah.
the abridged things are terrible. I don't like them.
Mm.
Is your issue-
You lose so much, and what they keep, I feel like, is not enough to really appreciate the book. And I think it's a disservice. They're doing a disservice to Michael Jan Friedman's writing, because he's a
Well,
fantastic
sure,
writer.
yeah.
He does great novels.
Yeah.
This is not a good representation of it.
Okay, but it
Mm.
also seems that because
I'm
it's
pulling no punches
abridged,
today.
yeah. Really, Adina, tell us more. No,
feel that.
No, she
I'm a
can
little
stop.
sore.
It's all right. It's all right.
hey, Rocky, boom, 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 bang, bang. No, what's interesting is it looks like they just pulled almost all of the dialogue that's in the book, because as a listener, You want to hear the spoken word. But yes, you're right, Adina. As I'm listening to it, I'm missing so much of, it's like I'm reading right now Hugh Howey's book, Shift. And the way he writes, you can smell the smells and taste the tastes, and you feel what he feels. The characters are feeling it's and maybe if, as Adina's saying, we read the book in its 340 pages, which is my lucky number,
It depends
340.
if it's if it depends. The page count only
Oh,
there's a
what's the
different
page
page count
count?
if it's if it's the paperback versus the hardcover.
Yeah.
Those are different page count.
Hard copies 340.
340. Okay. All right. So again,
Hardback.
we didn't hear 340 pages worth of dialogue
No.
or story in 2.5 hours, I think was the length
Yeah, I
of
think it
this
was
or
about
so. And actually it says even here that the original audiobook was 3 hours and 9 minutes.
3 hours and 9 minutes is if you download the audiobook from Audible, which I did. I decided to do that instead of YouTube because
Okay.
I use Audible, it was just easy for me. Which I'm also disappointed in some combination of Audible or Simon and Schuster because the title of the book. Now, these are little nits, but they got it wrong. The name of the book
really?
is Shadows on the Sun. If you go to Audible, someone typed in or somehow it got messed up. It's Shadows of the Sun.
Oh, interesting.
Oh, interesting.
And not only that, in the little blurb description, before he came to terms with his conflicted feelings for his former love, she and Captain Kirk are trapped on Susan. And
Well, did Susan know this happened? Because she is probably
I
a
know.
little upset about two people sitting on her.
Exactly. I was yes. So I'm very disappointed in some combination of whatever happened there.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yes. So, and I just saw that after. I didn't actually notice that until this evening when I was because I bring up the web pages and things right before we start podcasting. So I didn't know about those. So those didn't just basically added to my I would rather just go read the original book than have sat and listened through it.
That's totally fair. Let's hear from Chris before I have a comeback here.
Or before I say
So
more.
I didn't
I have
realize
more.
this. I'll be honest, I didn't catch that this was an abridged version. I just felt like, okay, things are moving pretty quickly. But I'll say, I'm more with Brian on this in the sense that the assassin stuff was kind of interesting, but for me, it wasn't the most interesting. I was just more fascinated by the backstory of McCoy, of him dealing with his wife, and then also just dealing with retirement. Because I feel like Star Trek does explore that to a degree, but not as much as they could. So I'm always happy whenever characters are grappling with, hey, this is the thing I've been doing for my whole life. What am I going to do now that I'm done? So I like that. I love James Doohan reading the dialogue. I thought his narration was really good. It's also fun to hear him voice Scotty, which was interesting.
Well, that was easy.
Yeah, that was easy for him because he is Scotty.
Scotty was the only one that landed for me. None of the other dialogue. And I feel so bad because I want to. It's James Doohan. I want to love it.
Yeah.
Right? I'm going in wanting to love it. The only dialogue I loved was Scotty. I'll tell you. I will let you finish.
It's
and
funny. And then see, my only criticism, if I had any, were that some of the sound effects weren't accurate. But I take it as it's a licensing thing.
Oh wow, it's really,
like the phaser was too much like the original series phaser, not the phasers they had in the movies. But I mean, that's such a minor thing, and I know, especially then, there would have probably been issues licensing the current sound effects. But overall, I enjoyed it. I thought this was a good read. I thought and again, because it was the abridged, I felt like, okay, the story moved pretty quickly. It did seem like when you're reading the back of the book, I was like, wait, that whole Kirk and what's her name, Jocelyn are trapped. I'm like, that seemed to be like a very short third act, not the whole book. And again, I might get more context and get more that if I read the actual book, which I want to do. But overall, I thought this was an enjoyable time. I liked it.
I like you, Chris.
Thank you. I like you too, Brian.
Am I on the list right now?
I want to jump in for a second.
Adina, I think
One more thing.
did he slip a $5 bill to,
I,
or
yes.
maybe a
One more
five
thing I
balloon?
want to bring
Yeah,
up.
go
There's
ahead,
an
Chris. Go
episode
ahead. Ignore those other two. Go ahead, Chris. It's you and me right now.
TNG called, I think it's Bloodlines, where Picard is dealing with this child who he thinks might be his, and it turns out it's not his, but he thinks it's his. I don't think that's a highly regarded episode, but I love it because it was just one of the episodes that was on tape that we had taped. And so I just would watch it all the time. And I wonder if there's also a part where with Brian that you also like it even more because you listen to it in your childhood and it's nostalgic. And so I feel like there's a lot of times where it might not be the best story ever, but because we grew up with it, we like it even more.
Well, there's that, and also if he listened to the book and also eventually read the full book, but yes,
Right.
listening to it as a child when you don't necessarily need, reading one of these books or listening to them as like a 12-year-old versus as an adult is going to be different, and so these abridged versions might land better with kids, with tweens.
Okay, well, now I feel insulted.
Yeah,
but that's fair.
well,
because I enjoyed it, even though I'm 35 years old.
No, there's nothing wrong. Okay, look, there's nothing wrong
yeah.
with
You're
enjoying
a young
it. If you enjoyed
adult
it, you
by my
enjoyed it.
standards, okay?
I'm almost 40, which is wild. 5 years.
Please. That was so 30 years ago.
I'm feeling like this episode is turning into
sorry.
My Own Moonfall or Outland.
No.
This
No, this is
like-
still not that
no,
bad.
no, never,
This is
never.
still not that bad.
No, because that was every character was absolutely dislikable in that, especially the guy with the irritable bowel syndrome.
Even the guy from Game of Thrones. It's cool.
But what was interesting was, I'm listening to it, and all of a sudden, the voice says, "Book 2." And then we switched to McCoy as a young cadet, as a young doctor. And that whole portion of the book, it may have been truncated, okay, because of being abridged, but still, you got to understand where McCoy's humanity came from, how he respects life above all, that he is a true doctor where do no harm, and how he treats this particular assassin and saves his life. And of course, without a doubt, I knew when we got into the end of the third act, yes, that's the guy who's gonna die. Yes, that's the guy who's gonna kill his wife. It was foreseen. It was almost like you couldn't even be surprised that, what's that line from Aladdin? I'm having a heart attack from the surprise, I wasn't surprised because I thought that that's how it was going to go, because was it ever in any other Star Trek movie or episode where McCoy talked about being married to this woman? Or was this just...
he talked about being married. So I can't remember which original series episode. We talked about being married, but I don't think the idea that they had a daughter came up anywhere except for in a couple of the novels.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty sure that is not necessarily canon. It's a cool idea. I like it.
Yeah. We don't know what happened to her. She's just there.
Well, there was another novel where she's an adult, where we see her as an adult.
Okay.
And again, I don't know. And I think I read that one years ago. So like Brian, McCoy is my favorite TOS character. He always has been, especially when I was younger. I had a massive crush on McCoy.
Yeah, so did Dex.
Yeah, he was always my favorite character, and I love the idea of getting to know his backstory and such. And those were some of the highlight. If I had to pick a highlight of the book, is seeing the younger Dr. McCoy was a bit of the highlight. But a lot of the voices when James Doohan read the other TOS characters besides McCoy and besides Kirk. He did fine with Scotty. But like when he did Uhura, he read Uhura as if she had Kirk like pauses. But yet Captain Kirk had none. And then there was a lot of inconsistencies with that too. And then add on Simon and Schuster's making the voices like be tinny and whatever effect.
Yeah, that was
did,
that's on the YouTube as well. That's on the YouTube where there was like a difference between the descriptive dialogue and the spoken dialogue. That it was
I don't like when they do
mechanic.
that. If we're
Is there a
reading a
reason
book, read
why?
the book. Just read the book.
Hmm.
I mean, I'm okay with actors doing different voices for different characters, but then leave
Mhm.
that as is. Don't add extra sound
Yeah.
effects. To me, that is the most annoying thing. I
Well,
don't like it. Just read the book.
it is interesting that now they are you're getting the full novels now in whichever of the
Yes.
books they are producing with narration, like they're that is what's happening. And so it must have just been Simon and Schuster felt, and maybe in cahoots with Paramount, that this was the best way to sell these versions,
Well,
that it had to be highly abridged, that people didn't want to listen to,
it's
five,
I
six
don't think
hours of a
it's,
novel.
yeah, no, I don't think it was that people didn't want to listen to it. I think it's just the economics of producing it, especially when you have a narrator who's well known versus,
Hmm.
Mm.
if you have like Jimmy Doohan narrating or George Takei now narrated several of
Hmm.
them, that's a
Yeah.
different than if you have, so one that I listened to recently, Lost to Eternity by Greg Cox.
Yeah. Yeah.
Fabulous. First of all, it's a full book. Secondly,
Hmm.
it's fabulous, especially if you are a Star Trek for The Voyage Home
Oh, this
fan.
is the one with Jillian?
Hmm.
I need to read that.
Yes, this
Ugh.
is amazing. It is the full
Hmm.
book, but the person who's narrating it never heard of the guy before. And so the economics are going to be different. Plus, the
Yeah.
distribution mechanism, now that it's all digital, it is easier to sell these versus
Yeah.
selling them on cassette tapes in
Hmm.
the year 2000. So
Like,
the
I
In
just,
economics of the whole
bookstores.
situation has
Yeah.
yeah.
changed.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I was telling Dill this, and she always gets to know when I bring up Seinfeld, especially George. But like the fact that George wanted to like pretend he was blind so he could get an audiobook shows you that it just at that time it was just so inaccessible that I feel
Right.
like
It was
Mhm.
now,
hard.
yeah, it was
It was
harder.
much
Like you could still
harder.
get them,
Yeah. And
but
Yeah.
I usually got back then, I only ever got them from the library. Like I didn't purchase them because they were expensive to
Hmm.
purchase. So I would
Hmm.
only get them from the library. These
Yeah.
days, spending $10 for an audiobook or a credit or, it's a more normal price, especially if you're somebody who does tend to read. You can still, of
Yeah.
course, get them through the library, but the whole economics of the whole audiobook industry is 100% different than it was a quarter of a century ago. And so I
Yeah.
think that's
That's
simply the way that
really
they
Mhm.
reason.
Yeah.
Yeah.
fascinating point.
yeah.
Yeah.
The only audiobook that I have is the reading of the novelization of Star Trek 2009 by Zachary Quinto. And he actually didn't try to make the voices up, but his narration and his reading of it was very enjoyable.
Mhm.
Hmm.
And so, again, like you said, that's 2009 versus 1993. So, yeah, a lot of
Well,
improvements
no,
happened in
there
that since
there
then.
are a lot of books these days. There are still books these days where they do some of those other kinds of funny playing with voices or bring in multiple actors, and there are different things. I'm saying
Hmm.
as just me, even a modern book where that does that, I would prefer not. Just let the person read the book. Just let
I
them
agree.
read the
Mm.
book, and it's
Because when
okay.
you're reading it, your inner brain, your mind is creating the voices.
Yeah, I don't want the
And
sound
that's,
effects.
yeah.
Again, if they
Mm.
change their voice slightly to delineate different characters to some degree, that's cool. But then don't do anything else to manipulate it. Just let
Yeah.
it be
Yeah.
the actor reading.
Yeah.
Which is
That,
also
yeah.
interesting, Brian,
Oh.
because I listened to the Khan books
Hmm.
on YouTube,
Yeah.
and I know one of them was read by Odo, our
Yeah.
friend.
Renee
The other one, I can't
Auberjonois.
remember who read the first book. But the way that those were done, they were, I think, a little more compelling. I enjoyed those stories, maybe because I didn't
Hmm.
know anything and just was interested in seeing how it was done. But it
Those
seemed
were
like,
also later produced, probably
yeah,
in the
okay,
later '90s than this one
okay.
would have been.
This was
So
Yeah,
what,
but
so a little
93?
more
like with
technology
anything,
and
there's evolution in the production of certain
right.
things.
Yep.
Mhm.
Movies, TV shows, books, and audiobooks
Yeah.
that they're going to improve the system, improve the
Hmm.
quality of them, whatever. But we were listening to
Huh.
the version from 1993, so we got it just like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Well, this has been an interesting episode. I'd like to thank you guys. I'm just
What?
kidding. I'm
No,
just kidding. Totally kidding. Uh,
don't give
everybody
up.
calm down.
Put
So
up
I
your
think
dukes
Chris
there.
Chris said something that I think is really true.
Hmm.
I think I am drawn to this because I loved these audiobooks from the 80s and the 90s. It was more Star Trek for me. And you saw, some different things, and it was the original, usually the original actors.
Hmm.
Jonathan Frakes did a few, I know. Gates McFadden, John Delancey did some too. Uh, and then there were other actors too around it, but uh, oh, Nana Visitor did The Emissary, did the novel adaptation of The Emissary, and I
Hmm.
think that's a good one too. So for me, a lot of it is nostalgia. I think I can admit that is the reason why I love this abridged version is very much to do with nostalgia and just liking all the Dr. McCoy backstory. The assassin stuff is really interesting to me too. Um, and I love the back and forth between Dr. McCoy and the assassin in this story
Hmm.
too. And I love that he's really tempted with his ex-wife, even though she's off limits technically for him, and he doesn't want to cheat even on his arch nemesis who stole her away from him originally.
But
I just think
yeah.
there's a lot in it that for me is interesting. And it did make me eventually, when I my hands on a copy of the actual book, not this one, which I have a signed autographed version of the hardcover from Michael Jan Friedman that I got at Trek Long Island, got his autograph there. Uh, when I did read the novel, I was like, holy cow, this is even better. You get more. It
Hmm.
was like,
Mhm.
for me, this was an experience. Now, I'm not saying literary wise they're on the same level necessarily, um, because Michael Jan Friedman is on a level of his own when it
Hmm.
comes to writing. I mean, he's just superb in my opinion, and really gifted, and writes really interesting stories. But because I listened to this abridged version, when I did finally get my hands on a copy of the full book, it made the story come all that much alive for me. And I would equate that to how I felt when I watched the Lord of the Rings trilogy and
Hmm.
then eventually picked up the book and read it and was like, holy crap, you know, that,
Mhm.
whoa. And it made me love, even though there's a lot not in the Lord of the Rings, like freaking Tom Bombadil, for crying out loud. You, it made me love the films even more. So since I've read the book, does make me still feel very nostalgic about James Doohan's reading. And yeah, it's not he doesn't get all the voices right, but if you're a student of his audiobook narration from the Star Trek things, it's the same thing. He does it the same way, at least through all of the audiobooks. And another interesting thing about this one, guys, is this takes place right after Star Trek Six: The Undiscovered
Yeah,
Country.
that's what I was wondering. But
So,
yeah, it's also
but
just like,
yeah,
man, they don't get a break. Like they're literally like, okay, well, we just escaped from prison. We would just escape from being accused of assassinating the Klingon chancellor. It's like, all right, I wonder how much time, because I'm sure it was like after like maybe a day or two after the end of that movie. But man, that's a lot.
Yeah, that was the interesting thing about it as well. Going, this was the final mission of the Enterprise, and it was going to be off to be decommissioned. So yeah, I was like, okay, you're right. I didn't really even think about following the end of Star Trek 6. But yeah, I remember that at the end of that film, they're being decommissioned. Yeah, so that's kind of an interesting point of view on that. Um, you know, again, Adina, you always talk about things in three parts, and that the first part of the book is kind of interesting, but it wasn't that compelling to me. The middle part of the book, where he is a younger man dealing with the situation, very interesting. And then the third act, not as interesting. So I was kind of, I don't know how you feel about that, Dina. Did you kind of
Yeah.
feel the same way that there were these three parts were very much disconnected in different ways.
Yeah, if it wasn't for the fact that we were deliberately listening to do this podcast episode, I would not, I don't know how far I would have gotten, but it wasn't that far. And again, I do want to go back and read the book because I have read several of Michael Jan Friedman's novels. He's written more than 30 Star Trek novels, and they're great. So
Wow.
the fact that I did not enjoy this, I believe, is solely attributed to the abridgedness of it. I do believe that if I went back and read the actual novel, I'm certain I will enjoy it because I have so far enjoyed every one of Michael Jan's novels. And that's the thing. And that's why I think this whole abridged thing just does such a disservice because it's not the same thing. Because what they're doing is, it's not like they're taking a book and writing it into a screenplay, which gets shown on a screen, which is a different.
Right.
It's different.
Thank you, Adina.
Abridging a book is really kind of like just chopping it up and just taking out parts. It's not rewriting it. And so it's different. I don't know how to, I feel bad that I don't have more or better words for that.
No, I think your words are pretty good. Yeah.
I want people to understand that I respect Michael Jan so much. I love his work. And the fact that I didn't like this, I think it's because it's not truly what he wrote. This is not what he put together as a book. This is
it's just
excerpts of it. And the excerpts
so
on its own
dialogue.
is not enough.
That's the biggest
it seems
issue
like
for
they
you, not
pulled the
necessarily-
dialogue.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, Chris, go ahead.
But now, if you're writing dialogue, because again, a screenplay, that's what the screenplay is. A screenplay is dialogue, and then there's visuals to fill it out. That is different than if you're writing a book and you're writing dialogue, but you have other narrative. So if you just take out that other narrative, unless you change that dialogue to do more, which I don't believe is what happened here, what happens in these abridged things. Like I said, I think it falls apart. And this was not the first Star Trek abridged novel I've listened to. Because I remember when I first discovered them and discovered that many of them are narrated by, like George Takei.
Right.
George Takei is an amazing voice. John Delancey, amazing voice. But when I started listening to them and the abridgedness, it was like, I'm just here for the voice, and it was not satisfying. So I kind of gave up on them.
That is completely understandable, Adina, and that is why you feel the way you do, because this ain't your first rodeo, when it comes to abridged books. Then
no,
I'm feeling very, very ornery. Like I wanted to shout back like something just to be contradictory to what you're saying. I think in
but
essence,
in your heart, I'm right, which is why you're not.
Well, I don't
are you
know. I think
sideboxing
when you're talking about, listen, I'm married. I know all the tricks. Okay. Whatever that means. I don't know. But anyways,
you better not let your wife hear that you would like. You don't let her play this.
I'm also really good at digging holes. All right. So.
Yep.
Anyways, I think part of this, like for me, I enjoy these classic abridged versions of these stories for what they are. I agree with you, Adina, that you're missing a lot of this story. And it would be interesting, maybe if Michael Jan is at Trek Long Island, maybe we can ask him, hey, how did you feel about that abridged version? What did you ultimately feel about it? Were you just flattered and did you get a nice paycheck and say, hey, thanks for the paycheck, go for it?
Honestly, I can imagine that would be. So I believe that when working with a publisher like Simon and Schuster and all these things, when you sell them the rights, you're selling them the whole rights, especially for a franchise property.
Yeah.
So I don't think that there is any humongous fat paycheck. And honestly, if it were me, but then again, I am an indie author, and this is one of the reasons I'm an indie author, is I don't want people mucking with my books. I want to make those decisions on my own. I would understand the situation where I'm writing a franchise property. I don't own it, so Simon and Schuster can do whatever they want with it. I understand it. But honestly, as a writer, if someone's chopping up my book like that, I'm not going to be happy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, again, it's
I
equivalent
gotta
when we
ask
had
him.
Andy Weir on the show, and we asked him about The Martian, how he felt about since he had no input, since he just sold the rights to the book to the production company, was he satisfied with the way that they portrayed the book? And as I recall, Andy agreed that it was to his liking. So, but again,
And different screenplay, taking something and turning
But
it
it's
into a
an apps
screenplay
comparison.
versus chopping up your book for an audio version. I don't think they're not this to me. They're not the same.
Yeah. All right. So, Dina,
So,
I'm talking to you.
Oh,
All right.
okay.
All right. So,
Okay.
I'm going to challenge you in particular to read the actual Shadows on the Sun novel.
Yeah, I'm happy to do. I'm happy to do that.
I know you
Yeah.
are. I know you are. That's
Yeah.
not the challenge. That's not
Okay.
the challenge.
Okay, because that's not a
The
challenge.
challenge, that's like, I know, right? You read a
That's
book
a Friday night.
probably. Right.
It might even be this Friday night.
That's like, hey, all right. So my question, and maybe we'll come back to this in a brief segment in another show later, in the future. But how, after reading the novel, and Chris and Steve, you guys can participate too if you choose to. But then read the novel, then come back and let's maybe just I'd love to just hear how you guys feel about the abridged version. Then after reading the novel, to see what parts of the story were captured well in the abridged version. Is there any spirit of this story that was captured well in this version? So, yeah.
I gotta say, overall, like again, I appreciate the comments around the abridged version. I still, at the end of the day, I got more background for McCoy, which I love because I feel like McCoy is an amazing character, and just because of the nature of him being in the original series, along with everybody else, with maybe the exception of Spock, their backstories are kind of light, and they don't get a lot of discussion around them. So I just enjoyed being on the bridge, hearing more about McCoy, learning about his personal life. And it was great to see that, okay, he does have a family, even though in Star Trek 5, they're like, he doesn't have a family. We're all he's got when they're sitting around the campfire. But to hear that, he actually got married and like he's a grandfather now.
Even
it's all pretty cool.
Things happened, even if this is canon, where he was married for a brief time, they got separated, divorced when the daughter was 2, and he really didn't have anything to do with her life. Star Trek 5, when they're sitting around the campfire and he doesn't feel like that still works because he can be and have been estranged from his daughter
correct
the whole time.
And
so that still works. So that still works for me.
I hope he's not. I hope it's just that it just never came up. I'd much rather that be the thing than, like, it doesn't make a lot of sense logically from, he's never mentioned his daughter at all, but I don't want him to be estranged.
Well,
I mean, Kirk was already estranged.
He's never mentioning it on screen to us is not the same thing of never mentioning it to, like,
to Kirk. Like, yeah,
Kirk
and granted,
knows.
we're not seeing we're not seeing behind the scenes. It just feels like after 30 years of being on screen, you never once mention it. Well, and again, that's just because the character didn't exist and it wasn't part of the canon.
Before Wrath
so
of
I'd
Khan,
rather just what?
Before Wrath of Khan, there was never mention that Kirk was ever married. Never mentioned about that Kirk had a child. We always thought he was the swashbuckling single guy.
Kirk was never married. They didn't say.
They
had a kid.
But yes, with having someone like Carol Marcus in his life. She existed when that movie started, or when that movie
Which, by the way, Carol Marcus should have been the lady on the horse Captain Kirk was cooking breakfast for.
Who's Antonio?
Right?
Antonia.
Daggone
it, that bothers me to this day. It should have been Carol Marcus up there.
Remember that person that he's never mentioned?
I'm sorry. No. She had no, like, when we meet Carol Marcus in Star Trek 2, she has no real interest in Kirk. And then, by the way, She goes away. We don't see her. The next movie, her son by Kirk dies. She's never getting back together with Kirk. No,
I don't know.
No.
Kirk's pretty
So maybe,
awesome.
well, here's an easy way.
No,
Here's
not
the
awesome
solution.
enough to overcome the fact that that is a father of my child, and on his watch, basically, my child died. She is
Here's
not
the
getting back
easiest-
together with him.
Here's the easiest solution. They should have just
That's
made
jumping a
like his
lot
time
of-
in the Nexus before all of that. Instead of him coming back to Starfleet and being like, "Oh, he's retired, he's going back." It should have just been before all that. So maybe when he was involved with Carol, and there you go.
I don't know.
No,
Hey,
because
we got
that
some
whole
frosty
theme
with
of
that.
That's the
happening.
word of wisdom.
no, because that
Frosty.
messes up the theme of his arc and his journey at that point where he's struggling with passing off the reins. You know, there's the Enterprise B, and he's not part of it. So that journey of that, no, it makes sense. Like again, it makes sense, and it makes sense that it's a new woman.
It
All of
does.
that
I
made
just
perfect sense to
wanted
me.
Carol.
Okay,
I just
fair
wanted
enough.
more
I,
Carol
look,
Marcus.
I
I'll
like
leave you
Carol
alone.
Marcus a lot. I liked her character. The brief
Yeah.
bit that we saw of her, I liked her character a lot. But she's not getting back with Kirk after any of
I
that
don't know.
happens.
I don't
No.
know.
Brian,
No.
may I apologize for this tangent?
No.
This is a good tangent. I love it. I love
I'm not
going head to
mad.
head on this.
This is fantastic. I just
We're not going to even get into Picard having
I will
being with
I'm still upset
Yeah.
about the
his,
Picard
and
thing.
his son appearing out of no place.
That
I
really
will say-
irks me to no end. That frustrates me to no end. I'm like, of all the people, Picard should have been able to like spend time with this kid. That's why I love Picard and his kid, like their marriage in the books before the universe ends.
But the
in
best
that
thing
timeline.
about if the theme of our tangents today are the estranged children.
Right.
For whatever reason. The best thing that they did in Picard, that argument that Picard and Crusher
It is a
had
good
when
argument.
he is livid as all get out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was amazing because that was real and believable,
Yeah.
and that was awesome.
Yeah.
That was awesome. 'Cause
Fantastic
that made
television.
sense. Everything about it made sense.
It made
it worked
sense,
really
but
well
I
there,
just
yes.
wish it wasn't the case. But again, that's not what
no,
we're here
it's
to
sad,
debate.
but
Yeah,
it was
because
real.
I just feel like, especially after him grappling with the fact, here's this kid who might be my kid and I've never met him before, and now I'm trying to bond with him. Turns out, oh, it's not his kid. Okay, you can feel a little bit better. And then to find out that, oh, he does actually have a kid that he didn't know about. That kind of, that's a bit rough.
It's
I just-
rough,
I
but it's
just-
real. It's
real,
authentic.
but
Yeah.
I just get so
Yeah.
tired of characters in Star Trek not being good like fathers. With the exception of Cisco, I feel like, man, they
Yeah.
need to get some better like.
Well, he
No.
didn't get
Granted,
a
I'm bringing
chance to
my
be a
own,
good father, though.
you know.
Crusher hit him. I mean, that's
What, sorry?
Crusher hit him. So
Yeah.
hit,
Oh yeah, no, I know
HID,
it
not
wasn't his
hit.
fault. It's just
HID, yeah, you know what
So
I'm
it
saying.
doesn't mean he
We-
wasn't a good
yes,
father.
thank you,
The fact that he
Brian.
wasn't there, it wasn't
Yeah.
his fault. In this
no.
case, it wasn't his
I
fault that he
should
wasn't there.
rephrase my thing, but like just I get tired of seeing our beloved Star Trek characters not being present father figures. That's
this
where I
is-
have the real issue.
So
Even though,
I-
yes, he didn't know about it, but I still feel like, even so, I wish that didn't have to be written that way.
Yeah.
That's
Oh,
the
okay.
issue.
Okay.
It didn't have to be written that way, but if we accept that Starfleet is a pseudo-military organization or something that parallels what we know as military organizations,
Mhm.
I know a lot of, and I've known over the years, a lot of active duty people and how stressful, how, families struggle, how there's a lot of broken marriages. There's a lot of people who aren't really raising their kids because they are deployed. There's a lot of that. So in a lot of ways, it makes sense, that parenting and Starfleet are not perfectly compatible. And the people that make it work are actually extra amazing because of the
Yeah.
extra challenges that they are going through with that.
No,
And-
I
and
get
So
Next
just
that.
to me,
I
it makes
just
it more
feel
real.
like-
Yeah.
Yeah.
Next Gen kind of tried to bridge some of that with just the Enterprise itself was supposed to hold more families where there were
Right,
officers
right,
that did have their families with them. And there are a few episodes here and there where they kind of dealt with that a little bit. But you're right, Adina. That is, I get what you're saying, Chris, 100%. Like, That's one of in my opinion, major problem in our culture is a lack of parenting, whatever the situation is. It's hard. It's
Yeah.
hard to be a single parent. It's hard whether you're the dad or the mom. It's really freaking hard. And
Well, as the one person
you know,
here who's actually been a single parent for real,
Yep. Yep.
Well, I had a single parent.
but I
in
am
my
a single parent.
profession, I've
Yeah.
talked to
No,
many.
You were
that's
Yeah,
fair.
raised
I'm
by a
not.
single parent, but being raised by a single parent and being a single parent are two different
Oh
things.
yeah,
Yeah.
no, I'm not trying to
Yeah.
compete. I'm just
Yeah.
saying
yeah.
Yes.
I've just seen it from the
Yeah.
other side
Yes.
This
of it,
is
and it's
such a
tough. It's not an
fascinating
easy
conversation. I knew this. See, I didn't really care what you guys felt about this, the abridged audiobook. I wanted to talk about all
Thank
these
you
other
for making us
issues.
It's a
feel
trap.
special,
We-
It was
Brian.
a trap.
That's
all
a
along.
trap. I
It's a
love you
trap.
guys. I love
a
you
trap.
guys, no matter what. I will say this now. Getting back to Shadows on the Sun.
Yeah, shadows of the sun. Of the sun, on the
Shadows
sun,
about
on
an
the
on
sun.
the
abridged-
sun. On the sun,
Talk
not of
about-
the sun. On the sun.
Talk about an abridged. We're abridging our conversation of Shadows
Hey.
on the Sun. So, no, I am really fascinated. Number one, I want to point this out because I think it's worth it. Our conversation today, talking about this and how it's led us into other tangents. I mean, we've talked about several different issues that aren't related to the book, but kind of came out of a discussion of Star Trek, though, is that we're having this lighthearted discussion about different issues about Star Trek, but yet at the end of the day, guys, like we're still friends. We're going to come back
Mhm.
next week and podcast together.
Oh
Sure.
yeah,
And-
absolutely.
You know what I mean? And so I
Yeah.
think like that is the beautiful thing about Star Trek, that it tries to teach us. Not everybody hears the message the same way, but it tries to teach us that this is really worth, like, you guys didn't absolutely love this like I love it. Hey, that's okay. We didn't love Moonfall like Chris thought
I
we
don't.
would.
I gotta.
Okay, like
I
you
gotta
thought
defend
we
myself.
would. Like you thought
Here.
we would.
Wait
I
till
have
we
to
talk
defend
about. Wait till we
myself.
talk about
For the
2012.
record.
2012. Oh dear. Oh dear. Oh dear.
I need to put this for the record. I never
Okay, go
said
ahead.
I loved Moonfall. I just said it's a solid 6. I really don't think it's as bad as you guys are
That's
saying.
fair.
I'm
That's
not saying it's a good movie. I'm saying it's a solid 6. You come in, you watch it. I ate my brownie, had my Domino's pizza. I moved on, haven't really thought about it. But not to the level of, oh my gosh, this is the worst thing I've ever seen. That's all. Not saying I love it. But 2012, I will defend. I do love. I don't even think John Billingsley loves that movie, but I love it. That's all I'll say.
And that's the magic of what you just brought up, Chris, is that even though Adina feels the way she does, or I feel the way I do, or the way you feel you do, Brian is entitled to love this because it means something
Oh
to
yeah,
him.
for sure.
Oh
And
yeah,
that's
never
where-
said that. Never said.
Yeah, and so
we
you
gotta
don't have to
clarify.
said he
defend
couldn't.
yourself, Brian, or defend
Adina's
your
not saying you
position
can't love
because
it.
it is.
Yes, I'm not saying that at all. I want people to be clear.
Yeah, yeah.
Just because I did not enjoy something doesn't mean no shade on people who do. Totally.
Oh, I feel better already.
Good.
So when we get to talking about Starship Troopers, when we do review that movie,
Oh
I'm
my
sure
gosh.
Brian will have lots of kind and generous words to say about how much he loved it. Yeah, right.
I got to bring up Ghostbusters because I was surprised
Fair.
at how much you disliked it, but I'll respect it. But it was still a good conversation.
It's
Yeah, I just, guys, this is so.
I love this conversation. This is good.
I
This
do.
is gold.
I'm gonna admit it. I am a little surprised. I guess, and I think all of your comments about it are totally fair and valid. And Adina, like hearing you talk about this from your point of view as an author yourself, as a writer.
Mhm.
And I fancy myself a writer. I'm working on my first sci-fi book, and
Mhm.
I think you're right from that perspective too. And that's why I would love to talk to Michael Jan Friedman about this and how it really makes him feel. He's probably like, not many people listen to that anymore. It's not that big a deal. I let that go years ago.
Mhm.
It was out of my control, anyways. But uh, you're right. Like, even though I'm like, oh man, she hated it. Really? Come on. But I think the more I'm sitting in it, the more I'm going, oh my gosh, I totally get it. And the same thing, Steve, you talked about the highly abridged, and we're obviously not getting all of the information,
Right. Yeah.
and maybe even really necessary information to deepen the context of the story. And then Chris just holding on to the McCoy background story, right? And then me, I'm feeling just very nostalgic about this story
Mhm.
because I spent hours listening to it over and over. It was escapism for
Mhm.
me as a kid. And then for us to have the opportunity to come together and share all these opinions, and at the end of the day, still be friends and still keep
Of
podcasting
course.
together,
Of course.
uh, really is what Star Trek is all about, and friendship is all about, and true
Hmm.
unity is all about. It's not about agreeing on everything. We did not appreciate Moonfall. Adina and I did not appreciate Outland
Hmm.
um all that much. This is
You
okay.
didn't
We're
make
gonna
it.
get through this,
Yeah.
guys. I
And
just
that's
I
Was
just,
there
just
anything that I ever
I'm
recommended or I ever did that you guys didn't like that I was
I'm trying
surprised
to think
about?
of.
'Hmm.
'Cause I feel like
not
each
like
of you
I
had one
know
that
overtly.
like some of
there
us
was
had an issue, but I don't remember.
there was Explorers, but I can't remember, Dean, if you agreed. Like, because I remember when I recommended it, I know Steve was like, "Oh yeah, yeah, let's do it," but
Yeah.
I can't remember if
Hmm.
you
And
also
that's
misremembered them or not misremembered, but we're like, "Yeah, let's do it." And then you were like, "Hey, what was this? Why did we pick this?"
but that's again,
That's neither
hey,
here nor there. I was just
No,
curious.
one
yeah.
that you're talking about, like
One that
something you
you picked
recommended, Adina,
specifically.
Right.
right?
For us to watch or listen
Yeah.
to, and then that
I
generally you
don't.
guys were, yeah.
Can I be really honest with you guys though? Like, I don't think we have conversations like this in our first season. We didn't know each other well enough
Hmm.
That's
to
I
true.
just
don't
be able
know.
to flat out say I hated this, or you're wrong, or whatever. Like I think our conversations now are pretty raw and authentic, and we can disagree much more comfortably and have a blast at the end of the day with it all,
And
and
Yeah.
be
and
okay. So,
and still walk away, as you say, good friends
hmm,
who may
yep,
disagree, but that's fine
yep, yeah.
because that's what.
So,
Go ahead, Brian.
yeah,
Finish it.
I was just gonna, we should be wrapping this up here. And I would like very much to issue a question, or not necessarily a poll, but who of our listeners have read the actual whole novel Shadows on the Sun by Michael Jan Friedman? Who has heard the abridged version that James Doohan performed? And just tell us some of your thoughts on it. Do you agree with us? Do you disagree with us? Are you in the middle? And if there is an abridged novelization, those classic ones that a lot of the classic Star Trek actors performed, which is your favorite? And tell us why. We'd love to interact with you around it. Maybe you'll list something we've never heard or haven't read before, and maybe that'll make us do that. Certainly will help other fans of Star Trek check that stuff out. That's what's really cool about Star Trek. There's something for everything. It's okay if this story isn't your cup of tea. There's lots of other fantastic stories out there that you can enjoy and sink your teeth into. And I'm reminded as we close out this episode of the fact that we here uh, in our neck of the woods need peace. And doesn't mean uh, fake. We just need to be real and honest with each other and listen to each other. There's a new term that I've coined as a pastor that I'm saying I want to listen, learn, and discern. And we need
Very
more
good.
of that in this world. We need to listen to each other. We need to learn from each other, and then we discern what our reaction should be to that information and what we're hearing. But we can't care and love for each other if we're not doing those two things for sure, listening and learning. And so do that this week. Let's be a part of change, one person at a time, one day at a time. And love each other well. Live long and prosper. Thank you for listening to this week's episode of The Big Sci-Fi Podcast. We're a proud part of the Trek Geeks Podcast Network, and you can listen to more of our over 150 episodes at trekgeeks.com. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram, and subscribe to our YouTube channel now. Until next time, live long and prosper.